Over the weekend, we got the heartbreaking and shocking news of the untimely death of legendary Americana singer-songwriter Todd Snider. Now, this came just weeks after a very bizarre arrest and reportedly an assault. The body cam footage has now been released, and in the wake of his passing, there are more questions than answers. And in the wake of that death, the story of how we lost him is still a mess of half answers and missing pieces. Now, as we previously told you, Todd was allegedly assaulted in Salt Lake City, ended up arrested outside of a hospital, canceled his tour, went back home to Tennessee, was diagnosed with walking pneumonia, and died at just 59 years old. Tonight, we're digging into what actually happened in those 2 chaotic weeks, and whether this was a freak tragedy or something that should have been prevented. Let's start first in Utah. Todd's team said he was the victim of a violent assault outside his hotel in Salt Lake City on Halloween night. He was hurt badly enough that doctors stapled his head, so whatever happened, it was serious. But the exact details of that attack still haven't been made clear. Now, the next afternoon, November 1st, someone at the Commonwealth Room called police about an alleged assault involving a 59-year-old man. Officers later say the incident actually happened the night before, and the details were unclear. Fans showed up at the venue, saw the tour vehicle, but the show never happened. That same night, reportedly, Todd's band and tour manager left him behind in Salt Lake City for reasons that are still unclear. So now you have a 59-year-old artist reportedly with a head injury left alone in an unusual place. Now, on Sunday, November 2nd, Todd reportedly flagged down a stranger downtown, asking them to call police. When officers arrived, he told them he'd been in town with his band. They'd left him, he'd been attacked, and needed help. Police spoke with him, but didn't arrest him or take him to the hospital at that point. From there, Todd would ultimately make his way to Holy Cross Hospital. And this is where everything spiraled. So there are claims from hospital staff that Todd had already been seen at 2 hospitals that weekend and discharged. Their account was that he was yelling in the halls, calling people names, and allegedly threatening staff members, which led them to call police for a disorderly patient. But body cam footage from that arrest actually paints a different picture.
Put your stuff down.
I will.
You're not getting in the car. Okay.
Hold.
See the staples in my head?
I need a bed.
Okay, exactly. You can't stay here.
Where can I stay? I'm not homeless.
Where do you live?
Nashville.
Now, as you can see on camera, Todd looks rattled and slow, saying he hurts all over, he's cold, and he can't breathe. He shows officers staples in his head and tells them his band ditched him. He begs, "Please let me go in the hospital. I am sick." He keeps repeating that he's not homeless, telling them he lives in Nashville. He's in a band and that he's actually famous, of course, as we know. He even calls the officers sweet, but when they explain the hospital says they can't treat him further, he snaps back in frustration. And you can feel both things at once, a man in real distress and a man who's lashing out. Police would ultimately arrest him on suspicion of disorderly conduct, threats of violence, and trespassing, taking him to jail. And this is a moment that fans keep circling back to, a sick, injured man begging for a bed and leaving in cuffs instead of on a gurney. Now, fast forward a few days. On November 3rd, Todd's company announced he'd been the victim of a violent assault and was canceling the remainder of the tour to recover. There wasn't any mention of the arrest or the hospital incident. Between November 4th and 7th, Todd was released from the Salt Lake jail and made it back to Nashville, but we don't exactly know what happened during those days or what transpired. We don't know how sick he was, who was checking on him, and the details are scarce. What we do know is this. After he got home, he started having trouble breathing and was admitted to a hospital in Tennessee. Doctors there discovered he had walking pneumonia. His condition got more complicated and he was transferred for more intensive care. Family and close friends would gather around him. Walking pneumonia is a fancy term for a serious lung infection. It can build slowly over weeks and can turn into a more dangerous pneumonia or even sepsis if someone's worn down, it's untreated, or they're already dealing with trauma. Tragically, Todd died on Friday, November 14th at just the age of 59. After that, pneumonia worsened. Some reporting even claimed that he had developed sepsis and had been unconscious for days before his death, but we don't have anything official. And autopsies and toxicology reports can take weeks to return, so now we're left with some very big questions. First, did the system potentially miss a deadly medical emergency in Salt Lake City? On that body cam footage, he's saying he's sick, cold, and can't breathe. What we don't know is what happened before that camera started rolling. Did anyone take vitals? Did they run tests? What tests were ran? Did anybody slow down enough to say this guy was assaulted, he's injured, and maybe he can't breathe? Maybe we should take more of a look. Should we x-ray his lungs, perhaps? Of course, right now, those details are not going to be disclosed because of medical privacy laws. So unless there's some sort of a formal investigation, the decision-making in that hospital is going to stay off the record. Second, what actually happened with these alleged assaults? We have the Halloween night attack outside the hotel, the call from the venue, then Todd telling police multiple versions where he was jumped. We really don't know much more after that. There's no suspects, timelines, or an official account of that assault. And the other question is, Todd claims in that body cam footage that he was abandoned by his bandmates.
I have a band. I'm famous.
Okay.
My band ditched me.
In that video, he says the band left him behind, so it's unclear how he got back to Nashville and what led up to his bands leaving him behind in that situation. And it's unfair to speculate on that. Right now, we don't have the band side of that story. Now, we do know that Todd in the past had issues with addiction, and he was very honest and transparent about it. But in that video, it does seem like he was sick. The truth is, we don't have toxicology or medication lists or medical records, everything else beyond that speculation at this point. So where does that leave us? Here's what we can say for sure. Todd Snider was assaulted and suffered a real medical injury. He was clearly in distress in Salt Lake City, whether it's physically, mentally, or both. He was arrested outside a hospital while asking for medical help. Within days of getting home, doctors find out he had walking pneumonia. The pneumonia worsened, and on November 14th, surrounded by his loved ones, he died at just the age of 59. I think it's perfectly reasonable here to ask some questions about how this happened, how the hospital handled it, how the arrest was handled, what happened during those assaults. It's definitely a heartbreaking situation. Fans are mourning this legendary songwriter and artist. We're sending our thoughts and prayers out to his family, friends, and loved ones during this difficult time. Rest in peace.